Behind the Shades.
Because even though you may go from dating this woman, now the time that you had with her, you're going to now spend that time with your friends. You're still coming home alone.
Different space, for sure.
It's a different space. So I can understand maybe why some people will say that, well, I was in a 3-year relationship. Let me do something a little casual, because they only want the person to come home to, because the extra time watching the movie, going to dinners, going on trips, they're doing that with their friends.
Yeah.
So I think that's where men experience it more, because you can see the shift. I think when women are dating, they do a better job of maintaining their female friends.
Connections.
Where men, on the other hand, men understand when you're in a serious enough relationship, if you saw them 2 to 3 days a week, it's going to go to 1 day a week.
Mm-hmm.
But when it's over, it's going to go back to 2 to 3 days a week, where women, I think, are more consistent in that regard.
Right. Interesting. So fascinating. Yeah, I think it's interesting. I mean, certainly the place in which we soothe ourselves through sexuality, through connection with another human being, through having something that doesn't require any obligation. Honey, what I'm like, I don't have to clean up anything after you. You get to leave. Like there's sometimes, right? That's a space in which women are like, oh my gosh, like I just don't want to have to take care of anyone, anything. I just want to have my needs met and then see you later. And so, I think that, but we do have to be careful that we don't bypass the processing of the experience. If we maybe jump immediately into a connection, that's just like that we're trying to take into a relationship realm, something other than casual, then yeah, I think there can be a lot of danger in that, because we really haven't allowed ourselves to integrate or to process that experience before we go out and try to choose another partner, right? And look for a new connection. So something to be very mindful about. And yeah, so you're going to be coaching. Do you want to coach men and women, or just women? What do you think?
I want to, and my apologies in advance to my female audience here. I think men need more of a space. I think there's more programs for women versus men, if I'm going to compare the two. So I want to help men, because I think men have a more difficult time. I'm a man, I don't feel this. No, we feel it.
Yeah.
No, we cry at home just like everyone else. Women will cry in public, we cry at home. So I think men need that space. So initially I want to start off with men and say, hey, let's have this conversation. It is okay to feel the way you feel without thinking that you're weak.
Yes, that's so true. I mean, this is just something we have to constantly battle back against, that feelings and tears are somehow the female forum and feminine, and somehow weaken. I have to tell you something. I like, one of the reasons why I fell in love with my partner was because he cries super easy. Like he just lets himself cry, and he's never apologized for it once, which, this is interesting. I've been paying a lot of attention to people in like real life situations, but sometimes in fictional settings too. They even build it into dialogue of like TV and films. When women start to cry, they might be doing it in public, but they always apologize for it. Just start watching. You'll start to see it happening. Men cry. If they're gonna cry, they cry, and they just fucking cry. They're like, deal with it, I'm crying. There's no apology, there's no taking it back. Yeah, and that's something, man, I just am like, whoa, like, women, stop apologizing for your tears. Oh man, that's a soapbox I could get onto, but I won't.
I don't think anyone should apologize for that, as long as it's reasonable. Like, like there's some people, like their emotional displays, like you're like, oh my God, like, are they okay? Because it's so out there. But
yeah,
no, I think crying should be normalized. I think it should be something that is okay. And I think for the most part, I think it should be encouraged. Boys and girls cry all the time.
Yeah.
So why should it change just because you've reached the age of 18, 19, or 20?
Yeah,
Right?
well,
Is
or more
there
like the age of 5 or 6, right? I think these messages start super early. I mean, there's certainly a lot that's happening generationally now that's very, very different, which I'm thankful for. I see so many, but certainly still in many parts of the country and the world, right? Boys are expected to quote unquote man up long before they have emotional capacity for even like emotional regulation. So you're literally asking this little child to do something that they do not have the brain capacity to do. And then they get further punished and shamed and humiliated, right? So I am excited about all the men that you are going to get to support and love on and mentor. That's super cool.
I can't wait. I can't wait. It's a big undertaking, but I think I am ready for it as I'm continuing to prepare myself for it. I'm telling you, when I see that first guy cry, I think I'm going to be like,
Let me tell you, I'm like, if I don't get a client to cry today, I'm not doing my job. Yeah.
but it's going to be like some rugged 6'5", bearded, you know.
Yeah. Yeah. Yes, absolutely. Yeah, that's a beautiful thing. Oh my gosh. So you're working on that, you're wrapping up that, you're getting your business going. Things are pretty good
Excited.
here. I'm about to launch a new program. I don't know when people are going to hear this particular conversation that we're having today, but next month, April 2022, I'm going to be launching a new program with a colleague of mine. Her name's Toby Stark, which of course I die for because I just immediately think Iron Woman instead of Iron Man. And it's all about prevention. It's called the Empowered Parent. So I'm stepping into a little bit of work around prevention and awareness and response to childhood sexual trauma. And so this program is going to be for parents, but also guardians and caregivers, teachers, educators, anyone who's really hanging out and around children, because it's not just about protecting your own children. It's also knowing how to prevent abuse in environments that you're in or working in, but also how to respond if you suspect abuse or if a child outright discloses abuse, what to do. So I'm pretty stoked on that. It's been one of those things that's been like on the list of things, and it's finally made itself to the top. And we have 6 people signed up for it already, and we're only allowing 10. So we're well on our way to a full house for that program. And yeah, I'm stoked about that.
How does that make you feel that you're giving back in this way?
I mean, I think it's nice, for a long time, my focus and the scope of my work has been about, recovery and healing trauma. And of course, over the 15 years that I've been doing this work, people will ask me like, well, do you do any work on the prevention side? Or do you, of course, what resources do I have? And so I've built a really amazing resource list for it, but I've often had a general attitude of like, well, one person, you can only do so much, right? Like pick a lane, and there's plenty of other people out there working on the prevention side and awareness and response side. So fine. And then my clients often are the ones who spur me on, train to do things, to try things. And I got a outright email from a client who heard me say on a podcast, like, oh, I don't really do much on the prevention side. And she just called me on it and said, first of all, every time you're helping someone heal and break generational trauma, you're preventing abuse from continuing on in family lines. I was like, dope, that's cool. I like that idea. Oh, and by the way, here's a woman you need to talk to. And she just immediately introduced me. And as soon as I got on the phone with Toby, I was like, yeah, we are cut from the same cloth. And I dig your approach. And, maybe I do have some things to say about this. And now that I have a framework, right? Because the big thing was I didn't want to have to deal with setting up a curriculum or figuring out like all the nuts and bolts of it. But wanted to be able to speak through the lens of when it goes wrong, here's the impact and why it's so important to try to get it as right as possible. So I'm feeling inspired. I'm feeling like this, one of my critical needs as a human being is variety and expansion. And so to have like another little thread or a branch of my business and the work that I get to do and the conversations that I get to have. So I'm excited about it.
It sounds exciting, especially from what I know about you, because this is such a big deal. Like if I take it back to the very first time we had this conversation, this is something that you're experienced in. You know the numbers, you know how to do it, you know how it is at the end, or like the when you're going through it and towards the end. Now you're going to be able to help people from the beginning to the end. It's like full circle for you at this point.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. Yeah, exactly. Filling in all the blanks. And so we'll see. This will be, of course, our first round of Toby's had years and decades of working in this industry and delivering this curriculum. We're going to, adapt it and bring some things in so that it speaks to through my voice as well. So we're going to give it a try, as Brene Brown says, FFTs, effing first times. And so those are always amazing and terrifying and wonderful and scary and exhilarating and profound. And so we're going to launch that, and then we're going to, see how it goes, and then hopefully offer it, I think, at least once a year, but I would love to do it 2 times a year. That'd be really great. So yeah, that's the biggest kind of news on my side of things as far as biz goes. That's all good, but my clients are doing great. Oh man, I'm doing a group program right now with women. I love the group program space. It's just amazing to see how people just really show up for each other. Perfect strangers. Doesn't this just, are you going to do groups, or are you thinking you're going to do mostly one-on-one? Are you going to build up? I mean, most people, you have to start with one-on-one and build up to doing groups, but do you have a vision for that?
I think I'm going to do one-on-one from the beginning and then work my way up to the group. I have a few people that I've coached, that I've kind of got my coaching hours with. It's been a split, women and men. But as I continue to shift and continue progress, it's going to go in the direction of men at that point in time. But the group setting, take us through that, because that has actually piqued my curiosity. Take us through the group setting when you do it.
Well, so I work in my group program. I offer it 2 times a year, and it's a 4-month program, and we meet every single week for 2 hours. So a maximum of 6 women, keep it a pretty small container. And, I go through the enrollment process with those women in the same way I do with anyone else. We have a consultation and make sure we get to know each other. I understand what their goals and intentions are, make sure they're a good fit for the group program, because it is a little bit of a faster pace, right? We're moving on a week-to-week basis, whereas when I'm working one-on-one, we do every other week. So we go, 8 months. And then of course you're in a group environment, so being able to kind of like navigate that. But the good thing about the Beyond Surviving program is it's so facilitated, right? Like every week are very specific lessons. And so when we come into the conversation, it's not like, hey, everybody, talk about your trauma, go. Right? It's like, okay, so lesson number 1, let's talk about hope, right? It's driven by the curriculum. And so it creates these nice little containers for them each week. They know a little bit of what to expect, and they'll have been doing some reflection work already on these themes and topics, so they come in with a little bit of an idea of what they might like to share. And I think that it does take, the group program, I want to say I started it in 2012. I might be making that up, but like actually in 2007, when I just started, it was group. It was like 3 or 4. And then I switched and I was just doing one-on-one for a very long time, but neither here nor there. How amazing and profound is it that people say yes, and they just show up, the room full of strangers, and then start to talk about their lives and the relationships that get built, the community. And that's where I start to get really excited. I'm really starting to see it happen. Like in 2007, I had this vision of like that people going through this program would really treat it as a lifestyle, would really treat it as a community that continues to lift each other up and build each other up, even as people move way far from doing the trauma work, because that's the idea, right? Like we don't get stuck on just the recovery side. And now I'm starting to see that gaining momentum, such that clients are emailing me, but then they're also like, well, I already talked to blah, 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 like or 4 people in the community, right? And they're calling each other, they're visiting each other, they're hanging out, they're going kayaking together, like dreams come true. I mean, it's just, I dig it so much. That for me is just, yeah, that's a win. That's a win. I'm excited about that. And I could go on and on, but that's probably good.
That is beautiful to think that they started off as strangers,
Yeah.
but now they're bonding through their progression. When you see that, how does that make you feel that you're the person that created the safe space for this type of recovery and relationship building?
Yeah, I'm very proud of that. I'm proud of it, and it also is gratifying on a level of like F you to all the people who ever abused me, right? Because like every single person who is thriving and taking back their lives and then supporting each other, it's like, yeah, you meant that for ill, but whoa, did that ever backfire? Because check this out, empowered men, empowered women, living their lives and supporting each other. I'm deeply proud of it. And it also, I think a little bit about like what happens next with Beyond Surviving. Do I train somebody up? This is like an ever ongoing conversation. I haven't landed on an answer yet. But how does Beyond Surviving live past me? And sometimes I get very narrow-sighted about that. And I think of it purely as the business. Will somebody be doing Beyond Surviving, like coaching and, using my methods of teaching and using this curriculum? But if I let my mind truly, truly expand, then Beyond Surviving already is going to live well beyond me and my lifetime, because the parents who I coach are teaching their kids, giving them the same like tools and language and ways of taking care of themselves or their family members or their siblings or just their community members. I have one of my clients who started a whole like creative arts healing program, and she sprinkles in, little bits of Beyond Surviving there. I dig it. Yeah. I mean, it's a nice thing. I'm not somebody who wants my name up on a billboard or like over like named on like a hall in a museum. But I would like to think I am invested in the idea that my being here made some difference and had some impact. And so to see that happening, that's a life fulfilled, right?
Yeah, I was telling someone today something very similar, and I said that I'm at a crossroads in my life where do I stay with my current job and outlive my job, meaning that outlive the impact that I have, my 9 to 5, or do I continue what I'm doing, which is what I shared today, and then when I'm long and gone, I know my impact is going to outlive me.
Yeah.
And it sounds like that's where you are, because what you're doing, Rachel, is that as much as I want you to live forever, if you were to leave
65, that's it.
if you were to leave now,
Yeah.
everything that you've done is going to continue forward. All that impact,
Yeah.
the parents taking the knowledge from you, teaching their children teaching their children, and so on. This is all coming from you. Did you ever think that your impact would carry on long after you're no longer here?
Yeah. I had a very clear vision of it. A very clear vision. It was when I was going through a horrendous breakup. Go figure. Yeah, it was during the time that my marriage was falling apart. And I really really immersed myself in God at that point in time in my life. And I was watching Joyce Myers. I don't know if you're familiar with her, but I love her in many, many ways. But she was one of the teachers who saw me through that really dark time in my life. Go take me back a minute. Like, I'm living in this house with this man who's had an affair and says our marriage is over. and yet I can't immediately leave this home because I'm not with it, I'm not my means. I got to figure it all out. And he's wrapping up school, and like he's going to be gone in 2 months anyway. So it was this very strange period of my life where I'm like in the bedroom surrounded by, books and the Bible and all these different, like, just trying to find something to soothe my broken heart and my broken spirit, really. And he's in the living room on the phone, right, with the girl. It was such a weird time in my life, and really wished I had had the fortitude to just, to hell with it, I'm getting out of here right away. But that's not how it worked out. One night, he was away. I remember I was in this living room, and laying on the floor. I'd created a little cocoon for myself because I couldn't even really move. That paralyzed feeling of heartbreak, all you want to do is just lay down. And so I just had created like all these blankets and all these pillows on the floor. And Joyce Myers comes on the TV, and I'm listening to her and I'm watching her, and she's speaking to this huge crowd. And I'm just kind of conversing and talking with higher power and imagining and thinking like, what the hell is my future going to be like? Blah. Like really negative, dark, like there's no point in going on kind of thoughts. And everything, I mean, I won't go so far as to say it was a vision, but I do remember thinking, like, as I was listening to her, I was like, I could do that though. I could do that. I could be on a stage like that and teach people and guide them and show them a way. And then I just felt it, really saw myself like fully on a stage with, thousands of people in front of me. And I ended up having to do work around that though, because while that vision sat there, my scared side, right, once the divorce resolved itself and I really worked through my healing and got my shit together and was really thinking about, do I want to take what worked for me and start to share it with other people and see if it would help others? There was a resistance, internal resistance to having impact, to actually stepping out into it, because there were fears inside about what that would mean for my relationship with my actual family. I already felt a little separate from them. I was the first person in my family to go to college. And so I just had this false belief and fear that I was like, if I became something, that meant, and I had like little, like, don't get too big for your britches kind of, stuff in my upbringing. So I had to work through all of that. What's fascinating, where I'll bring you all the way up to today. So that was 2006. Yeah, 2006 is when that happened. Just last year, I was sitting on the couch and I started giggling. It was like a little girl, because I realized I had misunderstood the vision. I thought it was stand up on a stage, but I don't need the stage. And this just comes back to what we're just talking about. I don't have to get on a stage to have the impact to thousands. I've actually done it. I was like, oh shit. Like, it was one of those moments where I was like, I actually realized the dream without even, like, it took a minute. It took a minute to realize, oh shit, okay, it's there. I did it. Check, and now I get to continue and to expand and do new things and try new things. But yeah, that's that story. Long story short.
Can I tell you, I had a similar vision and I had a similar conclusion that this must have been when I first started doing all this, before you and I even spoke. So that's how I know this is so surreal right now. So we didn't plan this, everyone who's listening. I wanted my impact to be in front of a coliseum of people or at an event or things like that, because you can reach hundreds of thousands of people. That was my vision. Seeing that, imagine if I can do exactly this in front of a crowd of people. Yeah. And then when everything started happening and things got worse over the last 2 years, 3 years, I thought to myself, wait a minute. The same amount of people that I thought that I was going to be able to reach at that event, I'm able to reach now. And I have reached. Mm-hmm. So the perspective changed. Instead of you standing in front of 1,000 people at once, you're standing in front of each person, but a different person 1,000 times. Mm-hmm. And then when I was able to realize that, it made me want to do this even more.
That's super cool. Yeah, and it's an important piece for me because there's always the tension of, for me, the fame. Like I've always been really clear. Like I don't want that kind. Some of my clients get actually pretty upset with me sometimes. They're like, you should be the next Brene Brown. You should be the next blah blah blah. Why aren't you? You should get. I'm like, no, thank you. Right? Like I do not want that level of people knowing, like having their eyes on me. I like privacy, right? I want to keep my sense of self and my sense of my life and it not getting, becoming under a microscope. Some people are really good at that, like Keanu Reeves. Nobody knows anything about that guy. He's amazing. But that aside, that felt really edifying and like really like a relief when I realized that I could have the impact without having to go the fame route. Because there were times, right? Like I really bought into that. I was like, okay, I got to get on Oprah. Okay, Kelly Clarkson has a new show. Got to get on Kelly's show, right? Even submitted, like, to get on there. And I kept hitting no's, right? No, nah, even this like, oh my gosh, this TV show did a whole thing on me. And then they just never aired it. And I was upset. I got my money back. You better believe I got my money back. But I was upset for a minute. But then I realized, oh no, this is higher power taking care of me. Because I am buying into the story that the only way that we have impact, like I had a very narrow vision for a while of how it could look. And so I'm thankful now that didn't work out. Okay, let's bring it back to relationships. Hello, we can become thankful about things that don't go the way that we want them to go, that don't work out, because ultimately it was really for my best that it didn't.
But I guess you can understand, because I know I do, the attraction of the fame, right? Your name in the lights. But
Yeah.
I don't think I would be as balanced as I am now if I had that type of fame.
Yeah. No, I don't think I would do well with it either. I don't think I would do well with it at all. But we're sold it, right? Lifestyles of the rich and famous. I'm like, well, why can't we just have, just the profitable, just the, I have a good living and I have an impact. What about like the rich and impactful? How about that? That's what we're living. And so,
yeah, I'll take that. I'll take that. The well off and the impactful. Because I don't need to be rich.
People get scared of the word rich.
Yeah.
But because people associate it with money grubbing and selfishness, right? But this is part of the money mindset that we're trained into, right? Money is evil, da 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 da. Like I remember the first time I have this crew of women. In fact, I'll be hanging out with them in May again. We call ourselves the Badass Bitches, or Babs for short. And we're all entrepreneurial. Okay, we all run our own businesses. We've been together since 2014. And 2 times a year, we get together and have a weekend of women, but it's also business. We're holding each other accountable. What are you doing? What's happening in your business? And I remember, a couple, maybe like 6 years, when things were really starting like to flow, like I went full time, I could really support myself and make a living doing something that I love, which I need to apologize for that, right? And we went out to a dinner and I snuck in. So 8 of us were eating. And I snuck back to the waitress and I gave her my credit card and I was like, this is on me. And it was like a $500 bill. And my friends were like, wait, what? You just paid for that? I said, yeah, y'all, I'm rich. They just started laughing. And it's a mindset, right? Rich isn't always about the actual dollars in your account, because money, it keeps changing, right? I have lived in the days where I had 0.03 in my bank account, right? And now I have more than 0.03. I have, 40K sitting in my savings that I've industriously saved up, managed. And that 40K some days can still feel like 0.03, right? Because money can be very, very relative. It's very relative. As soon as you spend, used to spending $20 would feel like spending 1,000. And so I've gone through the whole spectrum of, what kinds of money, right? And I'm by no means like a millionaire or any of that. So I don't even know what my relationship to money would be if I reached that level. Long story short, it's okay to be rich. It's okay to claim rich. It's okay to cultivate a mindset that says, I get to be rich and abundant in my life. And I don't have to apologize that or be ashamed of that, because my being able to support myself and support and take care of the people that I love, which is the main reason why I want any dollars in the bank account at all, makes it possible for me to offer scholarships to my clients, makes it possible for me to run free programs, makes it possible for me to offer programs at 50% off, like all the time, makes it possible for me to support a nonprofit in New England. And so, rich doesn't mean that you won't also be charitable, right?
I agree. I absolutely agree. I can't even dispute that. I absolutely agree. Because I look at my life, and when I pull up, because you know me, I love my numbers. When I look at the average income in Canada here, based on the income alone, I'm in the top class based on income. But you don't feel it because it's a state of mind. But then when you look at what you have and you look at what's in the bank account, then you understand. Because when I look back, how poor we were living in a first world country when we had the 0.3 in our bank account, you have to feel that it's relative, as you mentioned. You have to look at it and say, my mentality has to change because I'm no longer that person that when they swipe their debit card, they're like, please go through.
Right.
You don't want to look at it. Then when it's approved, you jump for joy. And then a person's looking at you like, were you expecting it to decline? Oh, no, I have money on my other account. Yeah. But it's different now. It's different. And I try to spread that with everyone who I come in contact with, is that be rich in your energy. Be rich in who you are. Because when you have that, and it may sound cliche, usually everything else will work itself out.
Yeah.
Right.
What astounds me is that, here in San Francisco, we certainly are facing a huge crisis in housing availability. There's a large population of people who are homeless, who have been homeless for some time. There are people who are newly homeless due to rising costs and COVID. And, we spend a lot of time, with the homeless community in our neighborhood. And something that I have witnessed again and again is the absolute generosity of people who, quote unquote, have nothing, like materially. And that's why everything you say, just for me, it so rings true. And you see this idea of like, when you give, it's all cyclical, it's energy, it's exchange of energy, right? And when we start to grip around that, right, when we become tight-fisted, we stop the flow of that energy.